Uh, okay, could everyone see my screen? Okay, sounds good. Hello everyone, my name is Lawrence. Today I'll be presenting a little bit about a project I've been working on called Food Bridge. So what is Food Bridge? Food Bridge aims to connect people with surplus food for donation and those who are in need of food. And what I've done so far, I've created an iOS app for people to create different listings for food to share or browse through the food listings that people have made and find some listings that they're interested in. I've also collected surplus vegetables and fruits from local farmers markets and donated them to food pantries every weekend. And I've also gleaned fruits from backyards, and donated them to food pantries as well, and cooked meals for local shelters. So what are the impacts so far? Currently, I have 10 partners, around 18,000 pounds of food donations listed through my app, about 300 plus pounds of surplus fruits and vegetables collected through the farmers markets and fruit cleaning, and about 5 times meal cooking for a local domestic violence shelter with about 25 to 30 women and children. Okay, so how I started, I first volunteered in an urban farm where I learned an alarming statistic that in the US, around 120 billion pounds, or nearly 40% of food, is wasted annually, while 34 million people, including 9 million children, experience hunger. And this really surprised me. And this food waste not only contributes to environmental issues such as climate change, but also like, misses the opportunity to feed people in need, right? And furthermore, despite the presence of public food assistance programs that existed already, um, food insecure populations, they frequently encounter like different challenges or barriers when attempting to access these. Okay. So I decided to create an iOS app, and won the 2023 Congressional App Challenge for the California's 12th district. I marketed the app through different channels, such as the US Capitol, through the Congressional App Challenge, through my website, through libraries, and then through Nextdoor. And then I also sought food pantry partners to use the app and distribute the flyers. And I plan to showcase my app at a United Nations event. And then I also presented the app to several government agencies like Cal Recycle and different county food recovery networks. And finally, I sought other nonprofit organizations to work together and continue to grow my app. Okay. So some obstacles I faced. One was technical challenges. Since this was my first time creating an app, um, I had some trouble starting, but eventually I was able to create an app. So, and then second would be marketing the app. So I have around 100 downloads so far, and but some people have some concerns of using the app, such as interactions during pickup and then food safety. And third would be partner seeking. I emailed many nonprofit organizations and government agencies to seek collaboration, but only a few percentage of people actually responded. And then lastly, the fourth obstacle would be needing fundraising for meal donations, since it's not really feasible for all the money to come out of my own pocket every single time. So we're looking for some funding. How did I overcome those challenges? First, for technical challenges, I just researched a lot about app development and I kept testing different methods until I found the right one. For marketing, I created a website and I'm currently planning workshop education. Um, Third, for partner seeking, I set up Zoom meetings to learn about potential partners' needs and suggestions, and then achieve like some sort of agreement. And fourth, planning. I'm currently planning fundraising for the meal donations, so that is that could continue and be feasible. Okay, finally, future growth plans. So I plan to make further improvements to the app and update my website. I plan to recruit people and make a team to help with social media and marketing. And then finally, Like the last slide said, I plan to organize workshops at my local library to further increase my presence and then educate people on food waste. Yeah, looks like that's my last slide. Thank you guys for listening.
Right. Thank you, Lawrence, for that presentation. That was great. To share with us about Food App and your entrepreneurial journey. Now, if any of you here are watching, and by the way, this is broadcast live, so our attendees are not just the people who are present actually in the Zoom room. This is broadcast live, so there are plenty of viewers on our YouTube channel, for instance. So if you're interested in working with Lawrence or with the FoodBridge app, that's totally possible. Feel free to get in touch with us, and I'll be able to put you in touch with Lawrence. Thank you for being here today, Lawrence. We're going to move on to the next presentation that we have for today, which is by Arush. Now, Arush is not here in person. However, Arush has sent through a recording of his presentation. So I'm going to be putting that on for you right now. All right, here we go. All right, everybody. I've just been informed that apparently people can't hear. I'm very sorry about that. Apparently, we're facing some tech issues today, but regardless, I think that there was still some information on the slides there that was useful. I'm going to pause this now since people can't hear anything. So I'm going to skip over to the next presenter that we have here, who's Albert, who's already with us, which is great. Hi, Albert. And I'm going to stop my screen share, and Albert will be speaking to us today about Squash Buddy, which is his squash related project. I think it's very exciting. I think I first heard about Squash Buddy something like at least 7 months ago. And I'm glad to see that Albert has gotten very far with this and he's now presenting this to us. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the screen over to Albert. Albert, go for it.
All right, thank you.
No worries.
So my name is Albert, and I'll be presenting about Squash Buddy. So what is Squash Buddy? So I created Squash Buddy to diversify the competition and practice that players are exposed to, while also trying to connect people through squash. So one of the common issues is that when you play at a club, this may apply for many sports, but specifically for squash, if you only play with a select few players on a daily basis, no matter how many hours a week you train. So Squash Buddy solves that problem by introducing other players in the area that you can play with. Okay, so I myself am a competitive squash player. I started out in a club called M Squash. I've been playing squash for about 3 years, and I reached a highest ranking of 35 in boys under 15. Once I reached that level, I realized that there were a lot of players who were a little bit better than me that I couldn't quite win against. And one of the biggest differences between my training and theirs is the variety of players they played against was much higher. So that's why I created Squash Buddy. So challenges. One of the challenges of this project is advertising. So when you're creating an app that's meant to connect players by area, you can't just kind of make it so everyone can download it. You have to try and get multiple people in the same area to download it so the app works. For example, if I have one player who has the app in California and one player who has the app in Connecticut, there's no way that those two players will ever be able to play, and that would lead to people not using the app. Second challenge is I've never created an app before, so I had to do quite a bit of research into how to make an app. I originally started with a coding approach that didn't quite work out too well, so I ended up using an app building platform called Adalo, and using that, I built a user interface and I studied how to make it as easy to understand and easy to use. And then I spent quite a bit of time with troubleshooting. Future goals, I plan to release the app soon. I'm trying to incorporate a nonprofit before I do that first, just to get rid of some like legal issues. And then I plan on adding a section for freelance tournament coaching and also finishing my website. I also want to use the app to host events to connect people of all ages, because a lot of the junior squash players, they don't have much interaction with any of the older squash players or older people. And I think that those experiences would be quite valuable. Well, that's all I have today. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Albert. That was super helpful. And yeah, I've been receiving updates from your about your project from, I think, Avi. So very happy to see your project progress. And of course, the Leadership Innovation Lab is here to help you on what you need on this journey, including funding. Now, to everyone here, we're supposed to have 2 other presentations today, which is Ryan and William. However, they're temporarily not here yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm instead going to move on to talk about the announcements for the winners of our ID Action Global Pitch Competition. I'm going to do that first. And then later on, when William and Ryan join us, we can resume those presentations. So without further ado, I'm going to announce who has won funding for our recent funding cycle, and also some of the projects that they're doing. So as you can see, our funding cycle is for November 2024 to April 2025. The funding cycles are always about 6 months long. So you will win funding for that period of time. And then when we get to April 2025, we reopen a new funding cycle and everyone is welcome to reapply for funding if they wish. There is no upper limit on the number of times that you can apply for funding. Okay. Some statistics about this funding cycle. It is actually the 3rd run of our Global ID Action pitch competition that we run twice yearly. So what competition entries do is that you would need to pitch your project. Now, our competition entries are not judged based on results accomplished. Of course, if in your project and your initiative, you've achieved some results that you'd like to talk about, of course, you're welcome to talk about that. But we do not judge and give out funding based on accomplished results, because as you can imagine, that becomes a little bit of a vicious circle, because presumably students would be like, well, I need funding in order to achieve results, right? And that's why I'm applying to you for funding. But if you are judging me based on results, then okay, that's not going to work out. Hence, my explanation here to tell you all that we are judging based on quality of idea and meticulousness of planning, not based on actual accomplished results. All right. This is the 4th funding cycle that we've operated in total, and this funding cycle, the total amount of funds that were requested via all of the competition entries was approximately $25,000 US. The amount of funds that we are awarding for this funding cycle is 8.7K, so 8,700. All of these applications are reviewed by our limited partners in our Lil Venture Fund, and we reach a consensus on funding decision. And then obviously the general partner, which would be myself, makes the final call on how much funding to award to each project. Okay, so these are some of the projects that we've awarded funding to this cycle. Crochet for Change here, you can see by Annie Tuan. Crochet for Change is quite interesting. It's about empowering youth via crocheting. So they have connected over 400 plus community members across 3 continents, fostering understanding for people who are passionate about various issues that Annie personally likes. For example, art, social justice, action. And their online platform, which is started out as sharing crocheting related tips, has become a primary space for youth to share stories, showcase their crochet art, collaborate through projects, and discuss. They've hosted many workshops and conferences and community events where they've taught leadership skills, they've talked about social change, they've raised about 1.6K for 6 different organizations through crocheting. So they've collected donations of yarns, they made things like blankets and sweaters, and they distributed that as well to local shelters for people who are in more difficult circumstances. Yes. Pardon me. The Crochet for Others program, it also is a virtual run crocheting education program that teaches people how to do that. And in addition, they also develop Crochet for Kids, which is a guidebook dedicated to teaching children how to do that. So very exciting project, very unique, very interesting. Certainly Annie herself loves doing this. And so to this project, we are awarding $300, which was the amount that they asked for, I believe, in order to move on to the next stage of their expansion. All right. Next up, we have N1 Sports, which is by Niam. This is a basically a kind of a sporting equipment collection donation project. So they hold equipment drives, they offer volunteer coaching, they run fundraisers, all of which is to help kids who have the least resources access sports as well. So far, they've put about 560 items in the hands of 230 kids, and they've donated to 6 after-school programs in SoCal. They've expanded beyond SoCal, though. They're also present in Colorado and Vancouver and Toronto, and they are focused on expanding their impact by launching a youth-to-youth coaching program. And overall, it's a very, very good project. You know, Niam is certainly a very sporty student and would like to share this love for sports with everyone, regardless of circumstances. So to this project, we are awarding $500. Next up, there's Grace. Not the best photo over here, unfortunately, but yeah, Grace runs Constructive Journalism 101. So it's a project that aims to educate younger students, elementary schoolers, about media literacy and journalism basic. So think things like fake news, you know, teaching students who are younger to be more discerning about media, about what they read in the papers. So this past summer, the Constructive Journalism 1-for-1 team actually hosted 2 one-week summer programs for 5th to 6th graders, totaling 43 students, a lot of education time, a lot of articles actually written. And I think that they actually made those articles into papers, as you can see on the photo over here, Kojo papers for each kid to take home. The next step that they want to do is to adapt their summer curriculum into an online workshop, online 10-lesson journalism course via YouTube videos and Google Classroom. So they are currently editing those video lessons and they want to expand to other cities as well. So to Constructive Journalism, we are also awarding this amount of money that they have requested for. All right. Next up, there's Mathlinks. Mathlinks is actually a repeat winner. So Mathlinks is started by Helen. Helen has actually already gone on to Yale. So she's a freshman at Yale University. She matriculated there this September. So I've known Helen since I think maybe grade 10 of high school. And Helen started Mathlinks, and Mathlinks has received funding from us, from LDF, several times already. I've also worked with Helen in several capacities. Very capable young lady, very ambitious, very driven. So very happy to see that Mathlinks is doing very well. It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and they provide elementary and middle school students with math classes. I think they also do competition math. As you can see from here, the scale, geographic scale, as well as educational team scale of Mathlinks is really quite impressive. They've expanded to I think they have 11 countries, that's right, multiple national chapters throughout the US, as well as international branches with a staff strength of 150 plus teachers, as well as 2,000 plus students. This winter, they're hoping to host another 6 classes with 300 kids for the Pittsburgh chapter. If I'm not wrong, Pittsburgh is where they started. So very happy to see Mathlinks back again and to support them in their future endeavors. Congratulations to you, Helen. Next up, we have Zhao Yang in China, and Zhao Yang runs Read Audiobooks, a very cool project. So you can see over here that this is a screenshot from their Bilibili channel. For those of you who are not aware, Bilibili is like China's version of YouTube. So Read Audiobooks is a non-profit organization. Basically, they get together and read out books for visually impaired. Up until now, they've recruited about 50 members from 6 different international high schools in Beijing, and they've produced more than 200 audio recordings, all of which are on their Bilibili channel. So this screenshot that you can see over here is not representative of the full collection of what they've done. I just took a screenshot from the first page. Yes, they have 5 books in progress that they're recording, and they've produced over 190 episodes of Today in History, which is a very cool theme that they run on their channel. They are a registered nonprofit in the US, but mainly operating in China right now. They've even shared their recordings with the Zhejiang School for the Blind, as well as the Zhangye Experimental Middle School in Gansu. A very interesting project, especially in the context of China. So we are awarding them $500. Congratulations to you, Zhao Yang. Next up, we have Bang. Bang runs Eco Eats Equations, which is pretty cool. I must say that in all of the time that I've been running the Leadership Innovation Lab, I have not yet seen a project like this, which is trying to optimize cooking using math, basically. So what Bang did is that she applied math equations, math theories, surface integration, heat conduction calculus, dilution calculus, all of these things to try and optimize energy consumption, reduce food waste, improve ingredient utilization. So they have actually had results. They have worked with kitchens So you can see over here, they've worked with 5 major food kitchens for 4 months and over 30 chefs in the greater Boston area. Of course, these are starting steps, so you may not think that their reduction and their efficiency or optimization looks that much for now. After all, it's $80, $100, but think about this on a larger scale, which is kind of what the Little Venture Fund is trying to help these student projects achieve. Pardon me. To be able to get to a larger scale that they are right now. So the fact that on her own, without other outside funding, Eco Eats Equations has already managed to achieve this amount of reduction and optimization is very impressive. So because of that, we are awarding Banks Group $600 to develop their app that will allow chefs to put in recipes and receive suggestions about how to better optimize their cooking process. All right. Next up, we have Rhythm of Health, which is by John Boyle. Now, John is interesting. I think John is particularly interested in helping children who are on the autism spectrum via dance, which he's very, very into. So his project has both virtual and in-person dance lessons. He does both. I believe in person, he teaches actual hip-hop dance at his local community center. He teaches 10 kids. As for the online part, he runs this, you can see the screenshot, Rhythm of Health website, where he posts videos of himself teaching dances. He also reviews research publications and blogs and posts, things like this, focusing on dance and movement therapy. Very, very interesting project. So we are awarding John $800 to continue the good work. Next up, we have Enable Together, which is in Canada, I believe, by Danny. So Enable Together is dedicated to helping people with disabilities find jobs. Danny feels that there is a big gap in the market here where there are a lot of job search platforms, but not specifically for people with a handicap or disabilities. So Enable Together aims to make the application process more inclusive and accessible for everyone. They are beyond a project, they're more a compilation of products and services that makes the entire process easier. And their plan is that by February 2025, they would like to officially launch their website. From what I understand, Danny and his team have already been in touch with web developers. They've been in touch with the kinds of professionals that they would need to set up such a thing. And so the plan now is to get that funding and then by 2025 to launch that website. Yes. And during this time, they're also going to sift through networking sites like LinkedIn and job postings like Indeed to build a corporate network of potential candidates for their pitches. So we're very happy to help Danny here. Congratulations, Enable Together. I see our presenter for the next item is here already. Let me just finish this very quickly. Ryan, I won't need more than 5 minutes and then you're on, all right? So Victor in, I want to say Toronto. It's either Toronto or Vancouver. Victor runs the Green Society. So the Green Society is quite large in scale now. I actually first met Victor something like a year and a half ago when he joined one of our Leadership Innovation Lab programs. And that was the nexus of Green Society, which has now grown to quite a huge and impressive scale. So well done to you, Victor. And Victor is also a repeat awardee of the Little Venture Fund. And we're always very happy to partner with Green Society to sponsor them in their events. They aim to spread environmental awareness through workshops and their annual climate fiction writing contest. Now, before I met Victor, I didn't actually know what climate fiction was, so something new that Victor has taught me. For those of you here who don't know what it is, it's basically climate-based fiction. Kind of like, I guess, writing about apocalyptic scenarios because of climate change and fiction on that. So they run an annual competition in this genre, climate fiction, and they award prizes. There's a judging panel, etc. Yes, very, very interesting project beyond the competition itself, which I hope all of you here can kind of imagine the kind of organizational effort that is required to run an annual competition like this with a judging panel, with entries from all over the world, with prizes to give out. And that's only one part of the Green Society. The other parts of the Green Society are like advocacy, activism, environmental awareness, stuff like this, all of which, Victor really, really works very hard at. So very happy to support the Green Society. Congratulations to you, to Victor. We are awarding them $1,000. Next up, we have Food for Thought, which is by Alicia in the Bronx, I believe. So also food waste related, similar to Lawrence, who presented earlier today. Food for Thought here centers around an interactive food waste workshop and AI model, which Alicia built herself. It's called Smart Fridge. It's designed to help users minimize food waste. So basically what you can do is that you can upload or take pictures of what's in your fridge, and the AI model will remind you of what's going to spoil soon, what's going to waste soon, so that you'll use that first, or what kind of recipes you might be able to make with things that are in your fridge. Yep. So pardon me, as it says over here, user-friendly interface to track food and expiration dates. In the next 6 months, Alicia would like to expand the functionalities of this AI model of Smart Fridge. She would like to incorporate additional ways of identifying food items in the fridge, including supporting other languages such as Chinese, French, Spanish, etc. Have the AI model be expanded to be present in other regions and countries. So far, it's rather concentrated on the East Coast. She also wants to launch more chapters worldwide to help in the food waste minimization effort. So we are awarding Alicia $3,000 to do this. Okay. Congratulations to all of our awardees. If any of you are on this call, you will receive information about funds disbursement and monitoring procedures tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. We are also welcoming our new incoming limited partners for the new funding cycle. So Andrew, Annabelle, Brian, Grace, and Marina, congratulations to you all, and very happy that you're joining the team here at Lil Venture Fund to help us manage the projects that we fund. And also a big thank you to our outgoing limited partners for their service in the past funding cycle, which has just ended. So Clover, John, Justin, Vishnu, Aaron, Ivy, Aaron, Isabella, Matt, Danny, as well as Andrew. Thank you very much for your service these past 6 months. And certainly, you know, if you would like to come back and be a limited partner with us again, you're more than welcome to. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. So this was the award ceremony for our funding. I'm going to go back right now to presentations. I believe that Ryan is here with us. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the floor over to Ryan, who's going to talk to us about his Latin learning project called Polyglossus. Ryan, I'm going to just update you to a panelist, Ryan, so that you can speak. There we go, Ryan. You have the floor. Go ahead. You can screen share your own materials and start your presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you.
No worries.
1 second. I think I have a slight problem with my screen share.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, if you can do it, thank you.
Okay, no worries. Let me just pull up yours. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna hit that slideshow. Go for it.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Ryan Ju. I am a junior in high school. I'm currently based in Michigan, United States. My project is called Polyglossos. It is intended to be a classics learning project, but we may expand onto other languages. So if you can just roll the next slide. So I first want to talk about sort of why I decided to do this project. And I've been studying Latin for the last 5 years. I'm starting my sixth now. And what I've sort of seen in most schools across America, and also in general across the entire world actually, is there is a lack of focus on the second language or like world language department, not just Latin. So for example, in my middle school, like the foreign language department is the smallest department. It's considered almost it's considered like not as important as English, math, that kind of stuff, which I can understand to some extent, um, but I think that can be changed slightly. And now that was middle school, and then now in high school, right? Like Latin is always like the smallest part of the world language department, which I think is too bad, because it's such an I think it's a very important um, thing to be learning. And especially if you're in a school that is not religiously affiliated, then Latin might not even be offered. So which is why I want to do this project and to make it more accessible, make it more interesting to other either new learners that are maybe interested in this kind of stuff in the classics, ancient Rome and ancient Greek world, or to people that are already learning this language for whatever reason it may be, and make it more accessible, make it easy, make it more fun to them. Yeah. Next. Okay. So why is it called Polyglossos? It's not a very interesting story, I guess. But if you looked at the first slide, like the cover slide, that Greek polyglot is a Greek word that I transliterated into English. It is supposed to mean like to be able to speak multiple languages, like a polyglot, if you've seen that word in English. But that's why I decided to name it this way. And the reason why I think it's important to speak multiple languages is, well, first of all, because of my background. Like I need to communicate with at least 2 to 3 languages every single day. It's part of my life, and also I think the more important thing about languages is not necessarily you can speak it, right? That's what people. I think that's what a lot of people think is, okay, I can speak this language, I can communicate. That's all I need. I think it's more than language is more than just something to communicate with. It's sort of like it's kind of like a continuation of maybe a places like a regions, maybe like habits, like way of thought or something like that. Like why does a particular like person from this random X country, right? Why does he or she think this way? What and we can sometimes trace that to the language, like this topic, like what is the logic inside that language? You can see that transferred onto the way of thought as well. And I think that's what's interesting about language to me, at least. Yeah. So this is the website. It's polyglossus.org, and there's more. I only put one screenshot here, but there is more to discover about the website if you go on it yourself. But our goal, or at least my goal for now, is to make classics learning more engaging. As I said before, I may expand this to more languages in the future, but I'm going to focus on classics now because that's what I'm most interested in, I guess. And there's a few things I'm featured on as well. Yeah, and then the main form of kind of content upload I have is going to be on Instagram. The handle is polyglossus with an underscore. We can move on. I post a lot of different kinds of content. If you can move to the next slide as well. Thank you. I post a lot of different kinds of content, 3 at the moment, but maybe we'll swap one out later on. This is all 3 in like sort of like one screenshot there. The upload schedule is twice a week, mostly. And the 3 kinds of content I'm doing, as you can see, we have all 3 here, is first like a Latin like phrase or saying of the week. For me, it's I think we've all maybe seen like some like Latin phrases or things that looks cool we want to understand or something like that. I think that is it's supposed to be like a short snippet of introducing like a maybe an either well-known or lesser known like Latin quote that's supposed to mean something significant. And I almost always like to find these quotes in some kind of well-known enough author or some kind of literature, because there is actually a lot of New Latin. And New Latin is based, or I guess adapted Latin, which is basically Latin written by people like me or like other scholars now instead of from the ancient Romans. And there's nothing wrong with adapted Latin, right? But most of the stuff that you find in like maybe a school's model or something, that's normally adapted Latin. It's completely correct grammar. It's correct vocabulary usage. Everything is correct, but it's just not the real thing that the Roman authors would have written. That doesn't really matter if you're not trying to read unadapted like original Latin. But for these quotes, I want to choose like the most original stuff as possible. And then the second piece of content that I'm doing is sort of like a ancient Greek philosopher. Um, I think philosophy is a pretty important part about just that period of time in general. It's considered like a scholarly, and every single sort of scholar is supposed to know a little bit about philosophy. And philosophy's origins is of course in Greece, at least in that region is considered in Greece. Um, so I'm doing some philosophers from that time. Currently, I'm doing pre-Milesian, actually not pre-Milesian, just Milesian philosophers. which is and my legion is supposed to represent like a period in time, and it's very very old. It's before the Plato and Aristotle and the Socrates, like before all of that. There's a period where people would call it the Milesian period. And then on the top right of your screen, this is a third piece of content that I'm uploading less frequently, but it's still there. This is supposed to be like shorthands, abbreviations that that we use very often in English that are actually coming from Latin. So, for example, pun intended, EG is a Latin abbreviation. It's from the original Latin is exemplary gratia. I can see a little bit here, and I've done other stuff like, for example, et al, which you may have seen in a research paper. That is et alia, which means and others. You may have seen ad hoc, which is also from Latin and means like for a specific situation. I will eventually do QED, which is a more of a math term, quod erat demonstrandum, which is like to have been shown already, or this thing haven't been shown. That's more of a math term. So like everything I think has some kind of root in Latin, which is why I think it's so important and so interesting to learn as well. Once you find the interest in that. Yeah. Moving on. So like the last thing I want to talk about really quickly is sort of what kind of content can you find on, or just realistically, what stuff am I doing with the project? So as you've seen already, I'm posting quite regularly on the Instagram with that kind of content. It's sort of the snippets, right? Shorter snippets of classics that I think are interesting, and that makes classics more approachable, if you will, like a better starting place, or if you just want to learn something new. I think that's where you would want that kind of content to be. Other stuff that I'm doing, I'm doing a monthly sort of like an email newsletter kind of thing that is classics related. The content on that will be kind of split in half. One half is about myself, so what I am doing that month that is classics related. So something about the learning that I'm doing, like what am I learning like in school, in Latin class, and also some other projects I'm doing that is classics related. I will touch on that very soon. And the other part, I want to make it about, well, about the audience, about you, right? So, for example, I would sometimes put one of the posts I made in that month on Instagram. I sometimes put it there, and the Instagram, as you've seen on the previous slide, I cannot fit a lot of content in. Because the textbook is quite small, and I still want to make it readable and look good, right? So I want to, if there's more details on like a specific topic that I've posted on, I would put it in the newsletter, and more details, more like context, more stuff just in general that I think is interesting that I couldn't fit onto the smaller like snippet posts. Then I'll put it on the newsletter as well. And also, I'm starting sort of like not necessarily a series, but like a little section on the newsletter where I'm talking about sort of maybe tips for beginner Latin students if you fall into that category, if you're just starting to learn Latin, or if you want to find some kind of motivation to learn it. I'm adding sort of that little piece there as well, like monthly like tips, tricks, like what to focus on, how to learn basically, because I struggled a lot in my first year of Latin, and I wished I had something like this, right? And the link to subscribe to the newsletter is in the website. Something else pretty major that I'm working on is a little book that I'm writing. Actually, I've already finished writing it, but I'm working on some like last minute editing and like illustrations and applying for copyright and that kind of stuff. And the book is called sort of like Latin stories for beginner Latins, for beginning students. It's the total of 10 stories. I've written it myself. all of them, and they are going to be half mythology related and half historical related. So the mythology stuff, for example, we're talking about Hercules and his 12 labors, talking about Perseus, Medusa, talking Polyphemus, that kind of stuff. And then the history related are all Roman history. So, for example, the founding of Rome by Romulus and Remus, or like an emperor. I think I did Trajan, and then like Hannibal, like these kind of stories. I think these stories are well known enough, but I just wanted to make them simpler and in Latin, right? And obviously this is as most people would say, most scholars at least they call it the adapted Latin, right? But I think it's kind of like a add-on. It's like a add-on to someone's maybe learning in school. Like this is not supposed to be a text, but it's supposed to be like an add-on to a text that someone may be learning. And I think that's something that I would have benefited from in my first year of Latin for sure. And that book will come out hopefully before the end of this year. Copywriting is going to take around 4 to 6 weeks ish. So afterwards, I can go straight to the next step and hopefully out before the end of 2024. And then lastly, I just want to talk about really quickly. There's a little forum going on in the website as well. The forum is supposed to be free to discuss, and anything you put in there. Hopefully, there's enough people that will. It's like a Reddit-like community. If you're using Reddit, you know what that means. But anyone can post anything about sort of classics learning in general, and then hopefully there's other people answering, or maybe I'll go on and I'll answer some of the questions or concerns or anything like that. So yeah, that is my project. Thank you for listening, and hope to see you either participating in some kind of forum or just knowing more and caring a little bit more about the classics learning community and classics in general. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Ryan. That was great. Hope everyone here enjoyed hearing about Latin. I actually have known Ryan and worked with him for some time now. I want to say more than 6 months. I lose track, but definitely feels like it's more than 6 months to me. And I saw Polyglossus at its very beginning, as well as how it's grown now to expand to, a publication of Ryan's ebook or actual book. I'm actually not sure if he's intending to print copies, but yeah, Polyglossus has come a very long way, and just Ryan's constant strive to kind of find ways to prove the relevance of Latin learning and Latin itself as a language in our daily life. For example, this thing about EG, I didn't know that. So thank you, Ryan, for educating me on that today. Yeah, very, very interesting. Another demonstration of kind of how you can really do a project in anything that you're interested in the Leadership Innovation Lab. We are not here to tell you what you should do. We're here to listen to what you want to do and then try and help you make that happen. All right. So I'm going to stop my screen share here for now. We were supposed to have one last presentation by William. However, I think that we're ahead of schedule. So William is not here yet. I'm not going to hold up everyone's time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask William to probably record his presentation, and then I'm going to make that available to everyone on our YouTube channel, as well as directly emailed to you. If you are here with us today in the Zoom room, it means that we have your contact. So you'll get a copy of all of these videos, including William's. But yeah, I don't want us to just kind of wait around for William. Not his fault, by the way, because we are ahead of schedule. So that being said, I would like to thank everybody for being here today. And this brings to an end the Fall 2024 showcase. Do know that we run these showcases twice a year. So in spring and in fall, we showcase our student projects, our student research works, all of which are very high quality. I'm very proud of them. So certainly, stay tuned for more programming from the Leadership Innovation Lab, as well as our next showcase to come in spring 2025. Have a lovely end of October, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Goodbye.